Hello, this is Virtualis the Chess Noob, learning and having fun with chess. In the game I played this morning, I straight up hung a knight on move 7. Or, as I described in an earlier video, an involuntary gambit. However, one of the potential advantages I had was that the opponent was likely in unfamiliar territory, as they had accepted the Vienna Gambit. This game shows how being ahead on development can sometimes make up for egregious loss of material. Please enjoy! Let's start with the review. So this is chess.com's algorithm, and you can see, here's that first blunder on move 7, where I mentioned I straight up hung a piece. However, I managed to sort of crawl back and eventually win. Now we both had a fairly similar number of good moves and each shared a couple of blunders. Let's go on now to the analysis. So in this game, I played white, opponent black, e4, e5, knight c3, opponent plays knight f6. So this, of course, now invites f4, the Vienna Gambit. And in this game, my opponent accepted the gambit, which is a mistake and probably an indication that they're not familiar with the Vienna Gambit, because this immediately allows for e5 with an attack on the knight of the squares that the knight can escape to. All the squares on the board are defended by my pieces, meaning that the opponent must undevelop their knight back to g8. And in fact, that is their best option. Now the opponent made the right choice and played knight g8. Here I played knight f3 to continue developing. That move also prevents a potential problematic queen move to h4, which comes with check, and particularly with the pawn on f4, that can cause some difficulties with play. Opponent plays d6, I play d4 to bolster that pawn, and the thought would be that that pawn is now ripe for the taking. The opponent plays g5 here, and for some reason, I'm not entirely sure what I was thinking, I just shoot out that move. How long did I wait? Yeah, only 3 seconds. For some reason, I was just simply blind to the fact that that pawn was defended by the queen. Capture it immediately. As soon as I captured it, I go, oh, wait a minute, I think that's a one move blunder. And it is, of course. Opponent saw right away. Queen captures knight, and now, of course, I am just lost material, straight up lost a knight. And I was thinking, oh, okay, what can I do in this position? If I take the position, if I take the attitude that this was a gambit as opposed to a blunder, what should I do? Well, I suppose the opponent has has this pawn sort of out in the middle of nowhere. Their queen is now definitely the most aggressive piece, potentially, with an attack. They can go on to here with check. That is not exactly a move that's easy to block. So my thought was I really wanted to get rid of that queen in that position. And so I decided to play queen e2. So, potential for discovered check, but also if the opponent tried to put me into check with their queen, I would have the opportunity to trade queens. Opponent plays captures pawn. That allows me to capture that pawn back with check, effectively inviting a queen trade, and they oblige. So I was pretty happy with that. So here I am still way behind on the opponent, so minus 4.6 on the evaluation. However, I've got developed pieces. I'm close to being able to long castles. The opponent have basically no developed pieces, pawn in the middle of nowhere. Yes, I'm down on material, but I am positionally, I am sort of up on development, and that can potentially make a big difference, I thought, given that I'm probably more familiar with the Vienna than they are. They play f6, so attacking the pawn. Now here, my opportunity is, as part of sort of the common Vienna sort of idea, is to bring knight to d5, so knight d5, which then I can now attack the pawn on c7, which comes with check and with an opportunity to capture the rook. So that's what I think Stockfish thinks is the best move at this point. However, I thought I needed to continue with my development rather than striking out with my already existing pieces. So I thought bishop captures pawn, so bishop f4 I thought was probably going to be pretty good. So that does, I'm starting to gain back some of the disadvantage. So if they capture, I can capture back. Again, that's good. They're probably going to, oh yes, that's right. I forgot. So they brought their bishop out to bolster, and here, that's fine. All I'm going to do is to capture that pawn. Now, this was apparently a blunder according to Stockfish, but mostly because I had this better tactic of moving the knight. And I think that was still fine and getting close to equality now, close to equality. Opponent captures back with bishop, which was, of course, the whole idea of moving the bishop out in the first place. However, they should have taken the opportunity to develop a second piece. And now I'm actually ahead, even though I'm still down on material. I decide to long castles at this point. This is the strategy that Stockfish says will put me ahead. And interestingly enough, the opponent doesn't see that strategy either. Now, I did see it at this point. So knight at d5, simultaneously sort of attacking the bishop and the pawn. And of course, the attack on the pawn comes with a further scary move, scary sort of tactic for the opponent. Here, they make a blunder with their bishop. So I think they thought that this would guard that pawn and that I would be sort of forced to potentially sort of capture their bishop, of which then they can capture back. I think that's what they were thinking. However, that tactic obviously doesn't really work because I can capture, they can capture back, but now there is no defense on the pawn on c7, which is actually the venom in that particular line. Now, normally the king would go onto this square so that the knight would be put into jail, be trapped in that position. But given that I've already long castled and with a rook controlling the d file, they can't even do that. So knight captures a rook. They sort of bring out the other bishop g4. However, I can just move my rook out of the way with check, and now I can evacuate my my knight out of jail. At this point, the opponent opted to resign, given that now I'm substantially up on material and up on development. And so this was a game that I think went really well for me, despite the early blunder. So good game with the opponent. GG. One of the ideas of the Vienna game with the early knight c3 on move 2 is that this knight is well placed to go to d5 and then c7, forking the king and rook. On the analysis, I had an opportunity to exploit this much earlier in the game, but my opponent didn't see this either, and so didn't block this line of attack. When it finally came, a blundered tactic with their dark squared bishop gave me a winning position. What matters isn't who blunders first or even the most, but who blunders last. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.